Welcome to the Scale Model Podcast. In this podcast, we aim to entertain, inform, and promote the hobby of scale model kit building with interviews, reviews, and news about the hobby. The Scale Model Podcast is currently recorded bi-weekly and is available where your favorite podcasts are found, including iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher, as well as our website at www.scalemodelpodcast.com. Let us know if you have any comments or suggestions at scalemodelpodcast@gmail.com or at our Facebook page at facebook.com/scalemodelpodcast. We also publish extra video content on our YouTube channel, and we also have a Patreon page at patreon.com/scalemodelpodcast. The money raised will be used to help offset web hosting and other costs. As the podcast grows, we hope to introduce giveaway and other bonuses to our Patreon supporters as a thank you for supporting the Scale Model Podcast. Welcome to episode 38 of the Scale Model Podcast, sponsored by Goodman Models. My name is Stuart Clark, and tonight I am doing the show solo from my place because our good friend and co-host, Mr. Anthony Goodman's feeling a bit under the weather. I think he's caught a cold or something to that effect. We want to make sure he's nice and healthy for the next one when we do our live show in Hamilton. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. So you have me tonight, for better or for worse. Let's hope for better. So we're going to get right on to it. First off, a little bit of sad news from the world of IPMS and Canadian modelers in the Northeast. Derek Pennington has passed away. Derek was the founder of IPMS Toronto, and he was actually a really great ambassador for the hobby. Someone else wrote some of Eddie's comments through the 60s, 70s, and 80s. He started the Torcan Model Contest, and along with Bernie Hengst, the show in Ajax. He will be missed. And yeah, I have to agree. I met Derek a couple of times. Truly amazing gentleman. So our thoughts and prayers go out to his family from the Scale Model Podcast. Just a couple other notes. He used to be a Saturday morning fixture at Keith's Hobby Shop on Yonge Street in Toronto. For those of modelers of a certain age, they'll remember Keith's. Way back in the 90s, used to be great fun to have a coffee and talk plastic with Derek, Brad Wood, and all the other glue sniffers that hung out. And someone else mentions here, my favorite Derek memory of him telling me about the time when his wife, at the time, told him that the modeling would have to stop or the marriage was over. The modeling didn't stop. Another thing he remembers about Derek was his amazing ability to take the worst POS of a kit and produce a masterclass display model. He did it time and time again. He was also an RAF veteran who built real airplanes for a living at de Havilland, Canada. As this gentleman also says, lots of characters in our hobby, but I doubt there'll be another Derek Pennington. So once again, our sympathies and thoughts go out to Derek and Derek's family. All right, on to listener mail. Kevin, who wrote us previously, we had a great little letter, a good conversation about PTSD and how that helps. He's sent us a few pictures of his M3 Stewart from LNMM. He's waiting for some AK water effects to come in to finish an F4U Corsair I'm working on. The plane's done. I just need to finish the base. So I will include that gallery that he sent me. Is really some really nice work there from Kevin. Robert Perlman writes, he says, thanks for the great show. Hi, fellas. My name is Rob, and I'm a 35-year-old modeler from Victoria, BC. I love your show. You've really managed to get some great interviewees so far. I wonder if you can try and get Mike Rinaldi. He's a super interesting guy, and I'm sure he's got all sorts of interesting things to say. He also has one piece of construction criticism for you, if that's okay. I notice that sometimes you both talk over each other and sometimes you talk over our guests. This can make the show distracting to listen to time. If you worked on this a touch, I'm sure it would kick your podcast up a notch. Thanks for your time and have a great week. Yeah, Rob, so two things. First of all, yeah, we'd love to get Mike on the show. In fact, if I recall, Anthony's a really big fan of Mike and some of his work to use some of his weathering techniques on his Aliens APC. So it's one in the queue. We want to hopefully get him on the show. As for the talking over, yep, guilty as charged. I have to admit we do that. Now, sometimes it is Skype with the latency, particularly when we have a guest. There's quite often we'll be in 3 different locations and we have Skype do the recording. So sometimes just the way the latency works, it sometimes can throw us up as well. But we will try and endeavor to make that a little bit better. Next up are one of our good super fans, Ray Davis. Good day, Stuart and Anthony. I hope both you and your families are well. I just wanted to pass on my compliments to both of you on the great interview that you did with fellow Sydney Sider Brett Green. That was in our last episode. I also look forward to hearing what he has to say about the hobby and any technique tips he may have. As always, I look forward to what you guys have to talk about on your show. Take care of yourself and happy modeling to you both. And that's from Ray. Ray's been working on a really nice P40. I'll have to get him to throw some more pictures up. Very impressive job he's been doing. He's been keeping us up to date on that. So very nice job there, Ray. Okay, moving on to the latest news. All sorts of unusual and interesting stuff this week. We're going to start off with mini art. This came out just after we recorded the last one. And at first I had to look at my calendar and wondering if it was an April Fool's joke. But no, it is from Mini Art, who are very well known for doing a lot of various dioramas and interesting bits and pieces for your dioramas. So they have released in 1/35th scale pigeons. Yes, pigeons. You heard me, the bird. Brings a whole new meaning to giving the bird to someone, I guess. So this is models of 36 pigeons. Assembly's pretty straightforward. It looks like there's only 36 parts, one part per pigeon, I guess. Um, yeah, so basically some good ideas for your diorama. Maybe not. Maybe I'm looking at some of the detail. Nope, you can't add feet. Feet are separate parts. Some assembly required. But this includes enough to build 36 pigeons in various poses, various color plumage and all that. Includes a complete color guide. So yeah, pretty pretty interesting if you want that. I'm sure there's all sorts of possibilities. I'm waiting to see the most humorous diorama being used for the mini art pigeons in the upcoming show season. I'm sure we'll see some interesting things. Okay, moving on. Here's one from that Anthony will appreciate. Bandai has announced a Hello Kitty RX-78-2 Gundam. This is to commemorate the anniversary of both brands. So yeah, you get basically a Gundam and an Hello Kitty. So you get a Hello Kitty model, but then you also get basically a Gundam with looks like a Hello Kitty. That's really the way I can describe it. Kind of like an egg model, more or less. Kind of a humorous version of it. But before you laugh, I had to do a little bit of research on this. As of 2019, Hello Kitty is the second highest grossing franchise of all time, just behind Pokemon. They've generated 80 billion in lifetime retail sales. So we may chuckle at this, but the IP is very, very popular. And again, if you're a fan of this, this is kind of a cute little thing you can check out. So yeah, release date's February. 2,300 yen, so not terribly expensive. So it includes the following accessories: Apple pedestal, a set of equipment, a foil seal. So yeah, it'll be coming soon, and it's not the only one that's kind of this humorous. They've taken the Gundam and made something humorous. There is some videos and stuff like that coming out as well, from what I understand. So definitely check that out. All right, moving on from our friends at Atlantis Hobbies. Notice some of their pre-order pages. Um, Lots of cool stuff. Looks like a lot of helicopters and some spaceships this time. So the Jolly Green Giants in 1/72nd scale. Again, the Huey Gunship and Fire Rescue helicopter. These are all reissues. And the one that really I like is the AH-56A Cheyenne helicopter in 1/72nd scale. This is an original Aurora tooling. I remember seeing this years and years ago. So this was a helicopter that was developed as a it was supposedly developed as a possible future attack helicopter replacement, and both this and the Huey Cobra were developed around the same time. Some people say this was just a little bit of ahead of its time, but a very unique looking helicopter. And a lot of the basis of this, in the end, they didn't develop it, but they did kind of use bits and bobs of it when they started making the H-65 Apache attack helicopter. We know how successful that is. But yeah, this is a very futuristic looking helicopter for its time, and you could definitely see some kit bashing opportunities possibly for doing some sort of sci-fi thing. So those are on pre-order. U.S. price is going to be $21.98 from Atlantis' website. So definitely check that out. So that should be yeah, some interesting stuff from them. Okay, moving on. Cult TV Man, our good friends at Cult TV Man, they've got some pre-order stuff coming. More space stuff coming from Dragon Hobbies. One that sticks out here is a new model kit of the International Space Station. This is from Dragon, 1 to 400 scale. This is the configuration of the station as it was in 2007. $34.99. It comes on a nice little stand. Very nice looking. If you're a big fan of space, real space stuff like that. So very nice. I'm just looking here to see if there's any other part count or anything like that. Nothing yet. Again, it's still a pre-order. But I know Dragon's been doing a lot of stuff for real space and stuff like that. So yeah, quite some neat stuff. There's also a new USS Enterprise from Star Trek Discovery from round 2 in 1 to 1,000 scale, so that's kind of a cool one as well. Again, on pre-order. So definitely sometime in the summer of 2020. I don't see a price yet, but if you like Discovery and you like the look at the Enterprise, Polar Light's appealing to you, so definitely check that out. Okay, moving on. We have AK Interactive, who produces a lot of interesting products. They're coming out with some third generation acrylics they've just announced. So again, an acrylic line, which I love, an absolute ton of colors. It can be, it's designed mixed for brush painting. So that's right from the bottle. A unique new little bottle. Looks like it's kind of got a little cross section at the top, so you can actually put a drop of paint on the cap to help clearly identify what color it is if you store your bottles, so you don't necessarily see the label. So that's worth checking out. They're saying once it's dry, it's very tough resistance to oils, minerals, solvents, or any potentially aggressive technique. So that'll be interesting to try that. Um, what else do they have here? High capacity water-based pigmentation. It comes in a 17 mil um, dropper bottle, like we've seen with Vallejo and other designs. So you can see the exact paint of what you want. They're planning to have 236 colors. So that's pretty well the most colors of anyone's acrylic range. So that's going to be cool. They also, of course, are going to have thinners, some primers, some varnishes um, to work with this as well, all under the third generation acrylics line. They have a supplied, and again, we're going to have it on the website, the links, a very nice looking paint conversion chart. So you can convert it with pretty well all the modern stuff. You can see exactly what they've got here and what they're converting with. So definitely worth checking out. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I know some local places within driving distance here will start carrying those. So that'll be excellent to see. And that's from AK. All right, moving on. Our friends at the Modeling News has a story, and they've got a hold of ICM's latest list of their new kits for the new year, and as well as showing what's on sale and discontinued. ICM has quite a bit of new things, including in let's see here, 1/72nd scale, a MiG-25 RU, a training version of the MiG-25, a couple of World War II Soviet night bombers, a U-2PO-2VS, and a multi-purpose aircraft. If we continue on in 48 scale, now here's going to be a big one. The Henkel 111Z Z-Wing, World War II German glider tug. This was actually an aircraft where you take two Henkel 111 medium bombers, uh, chop off a wing on each side, slap an engine in the middle, and put them together. Kind of like a twin Mustang, but much, much bigger. And that's 48 scale, so that's going to be pretty big. Then we have the Romanian version of the Henkel 111, the Dornier 217 in Night Fighter, the A26C15 Invader, the B2650 B50, sorry, C50 Invader. So the first one's late World War II, the second one's Korean War. There's also an Invader Pacific War Theater World War II. That's an all 148th, an O2A Skymaster, and one in Navy service. Again, 48th, the BF 109 F4. Let's see what else. Russian I-153, CR-42 Falco. That was an Italian fighter. So quite a few different ones. Just keeping going. What else do they have? Sorry, those last couple there. The I-153. That's in 132nd scale, so we're getting big. I knew about this one, the Gloucester Gladiator Mark II. That's in 132nd scale, as well as they're going to do a Sea Gladiator and a tropical one, a Stearman PT-17. That was a very famous American training aircraft. Again, in a big 132nd scale, plus some figures. If we move on to 135th scale, a SD KFZ-247 OSV German Command Armored Vehicle, the FCM 36, which is a World War II light tank, a Soviet recovery machine, a T based on the T-34. How about a Studebaker US-6 with World War II Soviet drivers, a Soviet fire truck, an AC-40-137A. Let's see what else. Some more stuff. Looks like from Land Lease, BM 1316 on WOT8 chassis, World War II Soviet MLRS, a Leyland Retriever General Service. That was a British truck. Oh, here's an interesting one. A Type AG 1910 London taxi. So something to go along with your 1910 omnibus. That could be kind of fun. 1917 Model T LCP with an Anzac crew. A Model T, also an armored car for the Royal and RANS, the Royal Naval RNAS, sorry. Anyway, I'm screwing those up, aren't I? And then some more figures in 135th, including Civil War, Union, and Confederate artillery, Vickers machine gun crew. We talked about the Chernobyl set. We've talked about the monitoring truck. They're also coming out with a couple other things. Firefighters includes the fire trucks in 4 figures, rubble cleaners 5 figures, and deactivators 4 figures. So you can do the whole diorama thing happening there. 124 scale cars, a Model T 1911 Touring with American motorists, a Model T 1913 Speedster with American sports car drivers. And we already talked about the Benz patent motor wagon from 1886, which a lot of people think is the one of the first true vehicles. A couple of new 1/16th figures, lots of new decals, some new diorama sets. In 135th scale, this looks like possibly. So yeah, all sorts of interesting things coming out. As I say, the Italian Falco and the U.S. Stearman looks like it's going to be popular. Very famous planes. I don't remember that many different models over the years. The Gloucester Gladiator will attract quite a few in basically all these different schemes. Very famous interwar fighter. So that could be rather interesting as well. So definitely some very cool things coming out from them. Um, huge catalog that ICM has. So well worth waiting on some of those. And as we get more detailed news about them, we will certainly bring them here to you. All right, Model Roundup. They always have a great coming soon section, particularly for car buffs. So there is under the just arrived, we have a 1965 from AFX, the Plymouth Satellite Golden Commando's altered wheelbase drag car in 125th scale. a 1966 Ford F100 short bed style side pickup, a F100 custom cab style side long bed, and then 1983 Richard Petty's STP Pontiac Grand Prix. Those are all 125th. Here's one I remember years ago. I wonder this has to be a reissue. AMT a snowplow 125th, the Ford LNT 800. So it was a plow and it was like a dump truck. Also coming in February 2020, Tyrone Malone's Kenworth custom drag truck. A 1965 Chevelle modified Stalker in again 125th scale. So a lot of new releases. Also a 40-foot container trailer um, for truck builders in 124th. So all sorts of cool things. I'm just seeing what else is on the list here. Going down, a lot of reissues, a lot of some cool things. Um, yeah. So anyway, some really good stuff there. Definitely worth checking out. I see there is two different Land Rover Series 3 station wagons coming out. One's the Revell, and I'm just seeing what's the other one here. Does it tell me? Oh no, just two different box types. One's the 109. Sorry. So that'll be interesting because again, I've said before I might want to pick that up because my dad used to have one of those. So that'll be kind of cool. All right, moving on to Edouard. It's always easier when I have someone else to bounce some of these off of. We tend to go through these way too quick. Edouard, bunch of new products again from Edouard. I just don't know how they keep up and make all these. I got to get them on the show sometime. They're going to have a Profipac 1/72nd scale, the MiG-21. They've also got a Japanese 1/48 scale F-104J Starfighter, a Focke-Wulf 198-8, that's the weekend edition in 1/48 scale. And for those of you who really like to build tiny, a MiG-15 in 1 to 1/144th. So that's kind of tiny. I'm sure there are people there that do enjoy building those. There's also some overtrees that they have from the MiG-21, plus of course photo etch for all those and all the other goodies and adjustments and stuff like that. Just seeing what else they have here. Again, big ed sets for the F-104Gs, the Tamiya P-38 Lightning, etc., etc. Um, Definitely check some of those out. So a lot of new things from Edouard that have been announced, and yeah, just again tough to keep up with all the stuff they do, various masking sheets and photo etch and stuff like that. Another great company. Their newsletter and their monthly catalog is well worth a look or a subscribe to. Okay, moving on, we have Academy for 2020. We covered a little bit of this, but again, one little bit preview. So Academy, I didn't know this. They're actually celebrating their 51st birthday this year. So a pretty large 2020 catalog. Um, so here we go. So we're just going to go right through this. They've got a new F-14 in 1/32nd they're going to be releasing, VF-143, which is the Pukin Dogs. 48 scale, an F3, F2, 48 scale, a navalized version of the PBJ-10. Looks like a Mitchell from what I see in the picture here. An F-18 VFA-2 in 72nd scale, as well as an F-15E and an F-35B in 1/72nd scale. I know a lot of people will be looking forward to that. As well as a B-52 in 1/144 scale. If we move on to their big 1/32nd, they've got an F-16I, that's the Israeli version of the F-16, an F-18A, a Spad 17, and they look like very nice. Yeah, and then surprisingly enough, because they always release a ton of helicopters, they don't have any new helicopters. So that's kind of unusual because they tend to release a lot, but quite a few other things there in their line. A lot of existing things. I'm just going through see if there's anything else that really jumps out. They have a B1 in 1/144th looks like. Yep, a B1B, a B47 in the same scale. A few things on their space line. They have a shuttle. Uh, some new ships. Looks like they are coming out with a new version of the Missouri. And see, this is weird. It says, oh, I see what's going on. Okay. The one thing in the Calyx is 1/72nd, then it says to 1000. I didn't think we were going to have a 1/72nd scale Missouri. That would have been kind of large. They do some unusual scales too on the naval side. A lot of 1/600 stuff I've noticed. But they are doing, yeah, 1/400th USS Missouri. Um, some new armor. We did talk about the Stern Panzer IV, the broom bar. That looks like a mortar or something. Some new tool armor. Looks like a Panzer III, the broom, Panzer IV, a Panther, quite a few. So those look like all new in 1/35th scale. If we continue, a lot of reissues of their older stuff. Uh, just going down the list here. Um, did you know Academy stocks their own paint range of acrylics and some basic tools now? So kind of cool. I've never tried the Tamiya, the Academy acrylics. Looks like not a huge palette, but again, if you're in Korea, I guess it's a good brand. If you want to let us know what they're like, I'd love to know. I love hearing to know what new paint and stuff like that is like. So yeah, so that's from Academy for 2020. And again, as individual stuff comes out, we'll mention it. All right, some of the hot kits: the Challenger from Rye Field model, of course, the MiG 24 from Zavesta in 1/48. That's getting quite a bit of attention. Airfix's Bristol Beaufort, of course. What else? If we go down the list here, is there anything that's new that or it's really risen up the rank? Oh yeah, the what we talked about, the FCM 36, the French light tank. That should do quite well. The B-17, the HK B-17G from Hong Kong models in 1/48 scale. I was at my local hobby shop today and they had one in. I thought the box would be bigger. It's not a huge box, so I'm kind of curious what the packing's like for that. I'm gonna have to look that up sometime. Because yeah, is the fuselage in multiple parts or is it per side, or I'm not sure, but it wasn't as big as I thought. At least the box wasn't. I know the buildup will be a fairly large aircraft, so we'll have to see what happens there. What else? Great Wall Hobbies, the SU-35S Flanker in 1/72nd scale. The Canadair Sabre is still up there from Airfix. Some of the Chernobyl series, again, we talked about the firefighters and the fire trucks. That's on there, of course. That looks interesting. Nice looking fire truck, actually. And of course, the mini art pigeons. Gotta have your pigeons, basically. Let's looking what else. One from a company called War Slug, the British armored car. Looks like a Rolls Royce at 1/35th scale. Um, Full interior edition. So that could be interesting. And again, that's coming out in 2020 from a company called War Slug. I confess I haven't heard about them. We'll have to look into them further and see what else is there. Okay, so yeah, you get the idea. So that is what is hot from ScaleMates, and that's also what all the news is right now. Okay, moving on. We don't have a What's the Scoop this week. So we're going to briefly talk about, in his absence, our good friend Anthony Goodman at Goodman Models and all the amazing things they have with the super sanding blocks. It was funny, I was actually using them the other day because this AMT Hawk I've been working on, it's got huge, some of these sprue gates are very, very large. And again, you want to get those filed back, but you want to make sure you're doing it in a way that's going to be even and solid and, not unbalanced or whatever. So I can highly recommend the super sanding block. So these are a series of different grit papers glued on with a very strong adhesive to some very strong and inflexible plastic or like a PVC clear plastic. I'm sure Anthony has a better name for it. Um, And then what happens is each grit has a color coding, and he puts a little identifying dot. But the idea is then you can use these things to give you a firm, secure sanding base that's nice and rigid. Um, there's no give, so you feel that positive contact, and that works with your plastic, your resins, whether it's putty, super glue, seams, very precise control for smooth, even surfaces, and you don't round over the edges or use or lose details. So as I said, I was using them with the sprue gates on this Hawk kit, and it just makes really nice short work. I use a couple of different grits, and you just get it down to what you like, and it just, yeah, far easier than using in this particular thing than using an inflexible sanding stick or whatever. So definitely another good tool in the arsenal. So you can get them in individual singles, or you can get the value pack, and that includes, all the different grits in the line in a nice box, a nice little color coded guide, and this is all packed, so um, you can see exactly what sanding block is what. Really, really good. So yeah, definitely check that out. So the grits, just so you know, they're 80, 180, 220, 320, 400, and 600. Um, you can clean these off. The everything except the 80s designed, you can use damp or dry. And he does have videos on via a link via his website about how to clean these and things like that. So definitely check them out. So you can go to goodmanmodels.com and order them directly from Anthony, or other fine quality stores have them. Wheels and Wings, Section 8 Hobbies, I believe, has them. There's some stores in Australia that are going to be either carrying them soon or now. So definitely check out the website. That'll give you some links. Yeah, SJS Hobbies is coming soon, and War Games Miniatures in Australia, Section 8 in the US. FlexiFile, Forbes, Sunward Hobby, Elm City Hobbies, and Wheels and Wing Hobbies all carry them as well. So yeah, definitely check them out. GoodmanModels.com. Anthony also has a Facebook page. I believe in the product. I use them all the time. They're simply great. So, and of course, we thank Goodman Models for their support. All right, talking tools. My turn because Anthony's not here, so I get to talk about one of mine. No, I'm kidding. This was actually in the schedule. Um, this is called the chopper. This is a cutting tool that's been around forever, and I don't know how old this one is. I picked this up used probably about 15 years ago. This is their Model 1, the Chopper 1, and this is from a company called Northwest Shortline. They're a supplier of model railroading accessories and things like that. But this is handy. This was designed for people who were scratchbuilding their own buildings out of plastic and stuff like that. But us as model kit builders, we can use it as well. So it's basically the Chopper one is the oldest one. They have made newer ones with some improvements, but basically it's like a wooden board with a very precise straight edge, and then it's got a precise 90-degree angle. It's got a long handle with a plastic end to make it comfortable. And on that, you put on a razor blade. And basically, with that, with the combination of some plastic guide things that let you cut at various angles, it's basically a precise cutter. So it's designed to cut model building strip wood plastic to length evenly and cleanly. It does very clean cuts. You use a single edge razor blade. Um, it's great. You can do miter cuts because they include guides, as I said, with the 30, 45, and 60-degree uh, um, guides included. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's one of those ones that you may not use a lot, but you'll appreciate having it. So you can order it direct from NWSL, or various manufacturers and that have it as well. And they have a lot of different cool tools and cool products on their website. It's a pretty dangerous place, but it's kind of neat, especially if you're a diorama builder, or into model trains or building buildings, stuff like that. They have a lot of different things. And as I said, they've got 3 different models of the chopper now. I'm using the original, and that's the picture I have. But they do have newer ones, which are the Chopper 3 is a longer length one, and I believe the Chopper 2 is slightly smaller, but it does have a slightly raised bed. Basically some improvements people wanted, a smaller cutting mat, etc. So pretty cool as well. So definitely check those out. They're not terribly expensive. I think I paid, well, again, I bought mine at a show from a private seller. So I don't remember how much I got it for, but the new ones, the new chopper you can get for 34.95 US. And again, it's one of those things you buy once and you'll use it for your lifetime. So yeah, I'm very impressed with that. I use it for all sorts of things when I'm doing dioramas and things like that. So very cool tool, well worth having if you happen to see one and you feel the need. If you're doing a lot of the same cuts, as I say, for diorama work, stuff like that, definitely check that out. Okay, so that was talking tools. And as always, we'll have a picture and a link on the website. What's on the bench? My Hawk, AMT Hawk. We can say it's been the best of times, the worst of times. This kit's given me a few challenges since last time. One of the problems I had is I started to put it together, and one of the inserts for the head area where the cockpit is came loose. So that meant, of course, the day after I glued the top and bottom fuselages together. So that meant I had to gently try and pry it apart after I'd painted it, etc. Reset the part and try and put it back together. I think I've done a pretty good job. It's not 100%, but really, unless you hear this, only I will know. The rest of it's gone together well. I'm really pleased with the purple paint scheme I've been doing on it. So that's going together nicely. Some of the very small struts are very fragile coming off the fret. Pardon me. After I did snap one, but again, it seemed to glue together quite well, so that's pretty good. So I'm currently working on some of the top and bottom detail. There's some weathering to be done before I put on the top and bottom, I'll call it lattice work, just it'll be easier to get in. But yeah, it's really coming together nice. The other thing that really looks good is I use the Vallejo metal acrylic metals to airbrush on, and they're just an absolute joy. I was very impressed with those. I've used a base color for the three exhausts. I've got to do a little bit of spraying some more burnt stuff at the end, and that's probably going to be fairly soon. But again, just an incredible product. I know some people are very touchy about their metallics. These Vallejos, they're acrylic based. They're literally plug and play, pour right into the airbrush, away I go. And it's more than good enough for me, so I'm very happy with that. As for Anthony, I know he's working on the Musaru Cup. He's only got a week or so or two left. It's going to look amazing. He's been doing some great jobs with that. So we're looking forward to that. We'll talk about that again in a few minutes. Moving on, sites and tips. So I did get another email, and this is from Dana Mitchie. Hey guys, great job with the podcast. Just wanted to let you know about the 24 build off that is being held during the Daytona race on the 25th of January. You can participate with any genre of kit you like. The Facebook page for it is the 14th annual 24-hour model build. Keep up the good work. I had a look. They've got a ton of people, over I think 145. I think last check, who are going to be planning to build. Try and get a kit done in 24 hours. There is various rules. I think you're allowed to put 4 parts together for those ones that you just can't physically, maybe support or whatever. You need something being done first. But other than that, you got to do the whole thing in 24 hours. So it's been going on for 14 years, quite a good community around it, and I'm really pleased to give them a plug. So definitely check that out if you're interested in entering. Yeah, check it out as well. Looks like a very friendly community. Moving on, I found this. I got an email from Model Monkey. They're a 3D printing site, and we've talked before about 3D printing and how some of the stuff's just amazing, particularly replacing photo etch and stuff like that. So these guys have been around since 2014. They're a family-run, veteran-owned business offering 3D printed products. Um, so they're all printed in 3D printed in North Carolina, USA. They're using the latest state-of-the-art 3D print technology. Obviously, people that really know their stuff, various experts and stuff like that. And they've got some very cool things for various aircraft, armor, you name it. They'll probably have something for you. So I'm just kind of looking through here. They've got road wheels for armor, upper fuel tanks, motors for your Tiger tank. If I go on to, let's have a look at 1/32nd scale, shall we? Let's see what's in their website. Amazing website, by the way, at model-monkey.com. 1/32nd scale. And what's neat is the actual parts they show you. They quite often show you the parts as they come printed with the supports. So you can see exactly what you're going to get in the mail and what you have to trim away. Because when you're 3D printing, people don't know this. You do have to quite often print supports to help hold things up. So they've got quite a bit for your Bristol Bullfighter, 1/32nd scale. A cockpit section, $60 for 1/32nd. That's quite reasonable. Different tail planes, spinners for things. They also have, looks like they also have an account for on Shapeways, which is a generic 3D printed site. And then if I go on, if we look at some of the 350th scale, 1/350, let's just look at U.S. Navy battleships. Again, this is where I've seen some of this stuff before. Life raft canisters, fire control detectors, uh, tubs for your Bofors mounts, various 1/350th fighting top, aft fighting top in the USS Texas. So they've got it customized down to each individual ship because each one was a little bit different. So if you're into that and you really don't want to deal with photo etch, check that out. The other thing they do is they also do nameplates. And I remember, again, a couple of weeks ago, I saw some of their nameplates. Again, 3D printed. Um, you can basically, they've got 850 different nameplates already. Features raised lettering and a decorative rope border. And they can 3D print not only in plastic, but apparently brass, bronze, silver, gold plated brass, rhodium plated brass, or acrylic plastic. So kind of neat. Very, very neat neat as well. So again, just another site. If at some point I'm going to put them on my list, try and get them on, because again, in some ways, this is one of the futures of the hobby. You hear me, talk about this a lot. So definitely check that out. Okay, we're going to finish up here. I know it's a short show, but we're going to just remind people in less than 2 weeks, Saturday, February the 1st, at the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum. We're going to start recording at 2 p.m., but Anthony and I are going to be joined by our good friend David Goldfinch from our good friend at On the Bench. And he's flying in all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Now, he's not flying in just in to see us. I think his very good wife, his much better half, Michelle, has relatives in Toronto, so they're coming up here on the way to on their vacation. But we basically talked him into making the drive down to Hamilton and checking out the museum. We're going to give them a tour and all that. And we really want to appreciate Alan Miro and the rest of IPMS Hamilton and the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum for their support in helping put this event on. We really couldn't do it without either of them. We're also going to have on the show Alan, as we say, Alan Miro, and he's been on our show before. We're going to talk about Heritage Con, which is coming up, in March. It's not far away, so this should be fun. So as I say, pardon me, it's free with your museum admission. Do come early, get a chance to have a look at some of the amazing exhibits and stuff like that they have at the museum, including one of the only two flying Lancaster bombers. And then join us in the dome around 2 o'clock, and hopefully we'll have all the technical stuff out of the way, and we'll just have a good little round table and a discussion, and it should be a lot of fun. And the always important, before I forget, the always important, the first ever Musaroo Cup. And this is going to be the competition where we had each of us built a kit. So the on the bench guys, we challenged them to build a Gundam, and they did, and he's going to bring it over. And they challenged Anthony and myself to do a car, and Anthony's been working on that. And we've given Alan the unenviable job of judging, and I've told him he can judge whichever way he wants, IPMS style, AMP style. If he wants to flip a coin, he can flip a coin. It's all in good fun. So do make sure you try and join us there that day as well. We would really love to see you. Always nice to meet the listeners and stuff like that. So All right. Well, that is it for this week. As I say, don't forget to subscribe and let us know if you have any questions at scalemodelpodcast@gmail.com. I also have to point out that we have our good friends at On the Bench, who do an amazing job in Australia. They roughly go every fortnight as well, every 2 weeks, usually the off week that we do. We've also got several other newer podcasts. We also have Plastic Model Mojo at plasticmodelmojo.com. They're into the third episode. Some great guys from down the mid-southern, mid-east, southeastern. I hope they can get away with that. Tennessee, Kentucky area. They're up to 3 episodes. I think they're about to do their fourth, release their fourth. Always a great show. And of course, then there's Three Lads in England, the Scale Model Shed. They're also at scalemodelshed.com or do a Google search. So it's really nice to see so many new podcasts appearing. And they're all slightly different, so it's all good. So you'll have plenty to listen to while you're working on your bench. So, as I say, that's it for this week. Feel free to like and subscribe to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Scale Model Podcast. We do have a Patreon page at patreon.com/Scale Model Podcast, and you can always find us iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and of course on the YouTube channel as well. So that's it for this week for the Scale Model Podcast, episode 38. My name is Stuart Clark. Thank you and be well.